super excited to have this panel. When thinking about Black excellence being a safe space for Black professionals, we also have to think about what happens outside of that professional space in those social spaces. And I really wanted to put together a panel that truly reflected what I feel like are safe spaces in Kansas City. And I'm gonna let them go into what they all do, but just super excited to have this conversation. And hopefully you all please be interactive, ask questions, challenge the narrative. This is we all family around here somewhat. We got some cousins in the room too. But let's all just make sure that we have a good, transparent, authentic conversation. But for those of you all who don't know about the developments of Black excellence, we've really been trying to find a way to bridge together our membership activity and how we engage with the corporate community. And what we've done is actually we've created a platform called Proximity. And what Proximity allows us to do is to kind of bring everybody in one space. And it also creates just various development opportunities for Black professionals, not only in Kansas City, but our goal is going to be across the nation. And so I want to give you all, we kind of did a soft launch. If you've been a part of our newsletter for quite some time, you got something in your email that shows you about the program. But I want to kind of give you guys a little preview beforehand.
Proximity, the ultimate tool for better engagement and support within the Black professional community. Our platform is a valuable tool that serves as a resource for Black professionals who want to add value to their careers and founder journeys beyond their perspectives. As a member, you will have access to unique learning and social experiences, job placement matchmaking, and personalized support tailored to your individual needs. Our community truly understands and supports each member, helping them reach their full potential and make a meaningful impact in their careers and communities. Join us today to unlock your full potential as a Black professional or founder through Proximity.
Get my little tech mogul on, you know what I'm saying? But this right here is my swag. No, but this platform was just a way for me to truly pull all of my resources and connections in one space. Oftentimes I get asked to meet up with people who just moved to Kansas City or those who are trying to figure out that next stage in their career. But that time is very limited and I would love to do it for free, but I can't. So this platform allows us to really kind of navigate that space ourselves. It's in true beta mode. And so if you know what beta means, if you don't know what beta means, it just means shit ain't done yet. So we're still working out some kinks, but just want you all to get on there, break it, find out what you like, what you don't like about it. And we're just gonna continue to develop this platform as a community so it can truly bring the proximity that you need. So without further ado, I'm gonna allow our esteemed moderator to take over and we're gonna go from there. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Real quick before we get started, we could do a lot better for Craig and Black Excellence KC. We could do a lot better. Definitely. Always at the helm of progressing and pushing Black excellence forward. And so, Craig, we thank you. We appreciate you. And we are happy to be here under the banner of Black Excellence KC for sure. For sure, for sure. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Melissa Johnson. I always like to say I am a lawyer by trade, but public servant by passion. I currently work in the office of Mayor Quentin Lucas as his Director of Public Safety, which comes with a whole host of things that are relevant to today's conversation. But we are here to listen to our esteemed panelists today. And so I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves. But immediately after you introduce yourselves, I want all of you to answer the same question. And that question is, how do you define a safe space? So introduction, your business, give us the rundown, and then let us know what components you evaluate when you define a safe space. So we'll start with you, Miss Mel.
I should have gone last. Okay. Can y'all hear me? Okay, great. I have a podcast and often people can't hear me, so this is for y'all. Okay, so I'm Corey Smith, and I go by the local book pusher. I have a bookstore called Black and Brown. It's located on 39th Street on this side of town, right across from Westport. And my whole focus is to create a safe space for community by amplifying Black and brown storytelling. My answer to your question, how do I define community? Okay, to me, community is going spaces and not having to do the code switching, not having to worry about what my hair looks like, not considering that I'm gonna have to explain just existences that kind of are just, you see me, we make eye contact, you know what it is. So to me, that's community.
I'm a music producer, been back since 2015. Created a audio engineering school that we teach high school students because I thought it was something that was needed in the city to be able to, for kids to be able to shape their craft and let them know this is a trade and they can make money doing it, $50 an hour. Some places in the world you can't even make that. And I wanted my students to know that they were able to do that through doing something that they love doing. And I just so happened to do something really crazy by opening a restaurant. And so now I'm a restaurant owner. Silly, I don't know why I did that. But anyway, you said creating a safe space, and what does that mean? Yes. For me, creating a safe space, my biggest thing is for anything that we do, if it's an event, or for people to be able to come somewhere, it doesn't matter what nationality, what religion, what race, what color, whatever you are, whatever you believe in, to be able to come somewhere and enjoy and have a good time. And I've been able to use music as the universal language that people are able to just have fun, communicate, enjoy each other's company, and go home safely and not have to worry about getting shot or anything crazy like that. I think it's super important for us to create spaces for people that they can talk about anything and it doesn't offend you. We're hearing each other instead of just talking at each other. So that's my definition of creating a safe space, is for people to be who they are and not be apologetic about who they are either.
Love that, love that.
Huge. Before I start, please give yourselves, everybody in here, please, for me, a round of applause. I have this thing where I talk about people enjoying entertainment, but not actually taking it seriously. Thank you guys for showing up. Please give yourselves a round of applause. I'll talk about me real quick. I'll pass over that. But I'm Josh Lewis, founder, CEO of Down App, the app that tells you where to party. We throw a lot of events in the city as well. And then I'm also the founder of, hopefully, the drink that everybody has in their hand at the moment.
Raise your cans, please. Raise your cans.
Yeah, dope. Along with my co-founder, Cool, over there, Kiera.
Raise your cans again.
That's the small part, but everything that I do is built on what the question is, which is creating authentic experiences for others. Authentic is a word that you could break down in a lot of different ways, but essentially it's what it means, right? Like wherever you go, you can actually be yourself and not be accepted, but be accepted but not tolerated, right? And so the thing about being authentic is essentially that wherever you go, where based on events that we do, other events that we push on our app or wherever we're pushing, that you can go and actually be who you are. Whatever that means to you is based on who you are. But that's what a safe space is, right? It's essentially when I go, I feel comfortable being who I am. Outside of that, it's nothing I could control. So that would be my definition.
Love it, love it. And so let's dive into the conversation. And when I was preparing to moderate this panel, I was thinking about the concept of safety. And in my work, I deal with it day in and day out and have realized that it's so multifaceted, it's so layered, right? And so I almost landed on dividing the conversation into two buckets, one being physical safety and the other being emotional, psychological, and mental safety, because they're very two different things, right? And so we'll start with physical safety. And Joe and Corey, this question is for the two of you. You both run brick and mortar spaces and are primarily responsible for the safety of your patrons, right? What are some of the ways that you intentionally plan and strategize to accomplish this?
Y'all are making me work today. Do you have an answer?
No, I'll wait on yours.
Okay, great. Okay, physical safety. Okay, this feels real woo-woo, and I feel like that's where a lot of my answers come from, because I'm guided by spirit a lot of times. But honestly, I think physically, when I think about where my space is located and why it was so important for me to put the bookstore where I put it, is because I want to very much embed into the community. And so for me, it's very important that I know who my neighbors are. Like, I make it seem so that, like, when people come into the bookstore and there's a free library and maybe that's all they came to get or whatever it might be, like, I make it my business to know who's in the area. And so I think part of that means that there is a little bit of, like, protective spirit and energy. There's a little bit of ownership towards the bookstore, like from the community itself, is because I acknowledge that they are very much the community that I serve. And so I think about that. My space is small, one way in, one way out, theoretically. And it's just like, it's right on 39th Street. And so there's a lot of activity that happens. So for better or for worse, there's always a cop not too far from the bookstore. But also, like, I share walls with a barbershop that gets a lot of activity. And there was a shooting there last year, I think, like literally inside of the shop. And so for me, my only defense was, like, I'm the only one in the bookstore, so I go and I lock the door, I get away from the windows, and then we kind of, like, wait for things to die down. In the meantime, like, the cops are, you know, like I said, they're never too far, so they pull up, they respond, but don't handle well with the community itself that it's trying to serve. And so things like that I think about, so like security systems and stuff like that, but also I think it's important that I know who's in the area and I'm not acting as someone who's coming in and taking over space and not respecting the people that are allowing me to have this space.
Absolutely. So basically, finding the safety in knowing your neighbor, embedding yourself into the community, the business community that you stood up your brick and mortar in. That's very, very important. How many times have we heard of white businesses or other businesses coming into the Black community and not really taking the time to engage with the constituents and the residents that surround them? So I love that. I love that, Queen, and that is extremely important. Joe, what about you?
I think my biggest thing is because I do deal with music every day. And so, for one, like, people always ask me, why are we playing Afro beats? I think sometimes music can be something that pushes a certain energy. And I try to be careful and be very, aware of that setting. And, like, Afro beats to me is like, I want to feel like I'm on the Caribbean, in the Caribbean somewhere going, just having a good time. So I try to set the mood with music. I think music helps people understand, like, where we're at and what we're doing. The other thing is I've learned that security, right? I have a talk with the security people. Don't be overly aggressive, because I don't want your energy to spark somebody else's energy to be something, and then and then they wonder why people are getting revved up, right? So I'm like, hey, y'all gotta greet people like I would greet people, because I'm like, hey, how's everybody doing? I want everybody to be in the space and have a good time. And really, I think people, when they walk into the events or the restaurant, they just feel like this is a space that I want to protect, because this is a space that I want to continue coming to, because I love how I feel when I'm in here. So the people are kind of like what you were saying, the people are kind of like policing things for you. Like, no, we don't do that here. No, this is not that energy. We don't want to have that. And that's why I think whoever's coming and greeting at the door is super important, because you can't greet bad energy with bad energy. You're going to get a bad time, right? And it is important that we have security and things like that of the nature there, but they also have to know how to handle people. And I think that's a super important thing. And that's why I think, and then your crowd, right? You kind of set your crowd up, and people know. I got some of the gangsters guys that will come to an event and they see all women and they're like, oh, this ain't that. That makes them come down and they like, man, I have guys that I'm telling you that the most hood dudes you can think of, like, man, I feel safe in here tonight. And for me, I'm like, for y'all to feel safe, that means everybody else is gonna feel safe, because now your energy you're gonna match everybody else's energy too, so.
Love that. So empowering your constituents and your patrons to feel a level of ownership over the space and to guard the space themselves, because we want to keep returning to the space, right? And if we keep defiling our spaces, it's going to come a day where we no longer have spaces. So I love that as well. Josh, you primarily, and although I'm envisioning it, I'm manifesting it, we're going to have a nightclub, a brick and mortar owned by Josh Lewis of Up Down Nightlife at some point in the near future, right? But until we get there, you primarily partner with other owners of establishments to create safe spaces for your patrons. Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience? Because I do know that a vast majority of the ownership that you deal with do not look like us. And so how do you navigate that? And how have you found collaborating with other venue owners, club owners in trying to facilitate safe spaces?
Yeah, it's two components. Understanding your consumer. And when I say that, obviously I'm Black, party with us, so I understand us, right? But if I'm a partner with somebody, they have to understand us, or I'm not gonna partner, right? So it's a lot of venues locally that are bigger than the venues we do or more prestige. I say no to some of those simply off the fact that they don't understand us. So I might get us in there, but when we get in there, we're gonna mess it up because they're not gonna give us what we need to thrive, right? So one, understanding consumer. That second part is honestly a very humble thing. It's understanding their side. Everything's a business. I think this ain't what everybody wanna hear, and I usually don't say what everybody wanna hear. But we don't understand the business side a lot of the times, right? We go into places, we go into spaces, and we want what we want, but sometimes that don't make money. And if I don't make money, we can't open, right? So learning the business side when it comes to the venues, the owners, the business people that deal with that space, understanding what they need to thrive and finding that middle ground, right? So you might need X, Y, and Z to make money. I might need my crowd to buy X, Y, and Z for us to be happy. So how do we meet in the middle, right? So go in with it knowing your consumer, so that confidence of knowing what we need, but also understanding that you gotta, humble yourself a little bit and understand that there's some things that in this space that I gotta learn so that we can meet in the middle, because that's essentially what a business partnership is. And so for me, it's those two, right? I always go into it knowing what we need, keep that in my back pocket, talk to the person that is dealing with the space, that actually owns the space, or even wants to partner with the ownership of the space. And I say, what do you need, right? What is the thing that's gonna make you happy, which 9 times out of 10 is money? All right, well, let's figure out how to do both. So that's essentially what it is.
So to kind of keep going on having conversations that people might not necessarily want to hear, right? I feel like I'm Carisha, please, like who want the smoke?
I do.
Because we're about to get into the smoke. There are a number of factors and aspects of the Black experience that do not promote or foster physical safety, if I'm being honest. I drive to work listening to Boosie set it off just like everybody else, right? I'm literally on my way to do public safety work to ensure the safeties of others, but I'm literally rapping to myself about toting guns, shooting up places, getting your ops, avenging your honor, all of that stuff.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. So how do we reconcile some of our cultural realities with the very immediate need of creating safe spaces for our people? Because it's a delicate balance, and it's a delicate balance that not everybody can strike, which is why we've had so much turnover, for example, on 18th and Vine, and other places. And so I would love for all of you all to answer this question. How do we reconcile our cultural realities of the glorification of violence? I mean, essentially that's what it is, with providing safe spaces for our people. You look ready to go. We can switch it up. It's a fire question.
For one. Two, so I'm gonna break it down. If you in your car driving the Boosie, set it off. I'm from the South, which is Set It Off would probably be my last Boosie song. So I'm gonna probably even go deeper than that, right? So I understand the vibe is what I'm saying. Essentially though, the reason you're able to sing that Set It Off song on the way to work in your car that you're controlling is because you feel safe, right? So it's really about the standard, right? You don't get in the car and be like, oh, I know I'm gonna wreck this car today, right? You say, I'm gonna get to work, I'm enjoying myself, I'm headed to a space that takes care of me. So it's not actually the music. That's not the difference maker. We've been in the spaces that play that music, but the space feels safe, right? And that's components outside of music. And so what I would say is when you, this is a part of the business side, you have to understand the other things, right? So music might Set It Off could go off in Monarch. It's not gonna hit the same if it go off in Boulevard Nights, right?
Very good point.
But you know what that is? That's the standard that's set. When I walk into Monarch, I know if I drop this glass, it's gonna clash, make a big sound, and I'm gonna be the embarrassment of the night. I drop the plastic cup in Boulevard, I'm not gonna hear nothing or know nothing. It's a different standard. So on the way to work, you set your standard. And that's all it is, right? As I don't like this promoter word, we talked about this, but as promoters, people that do events in the Black community, our standard isn't high enough for some reason, right? That's a scientifically proven thing that I don't know how to dissect yet, and I'm learning it, but we don't set a high enough standard. And so if the standard is high, I don't care what song is on, I know I better act right in this building. So I'm gonna turn up in my area, but I ain't gonna punch the dude across the hall for throwing up his set because I'm in a spot that set the standard. And so it's really about the standard, and I think the more we focus on that standard set, then we end up in better spots where we can enjoy that music, because I would love to hear that music everywhere I go. Set It Off is one of the biggest songs of our generation.
Urban classic.
And so with that, if we learn to set the right standards, then everything's taken care of. Because if you think about it, right at the end of this, I know I'm doing a lot. At the end of this, we do play the same music that Boulevard Night plays at our events. But when you come to my event, you also know I bet not do nothing too much because I might not be back. And that's the standard. So that's really what it is.
I also think that it's a difference between mindset too, right? Because you can be playing the trap music, but you know we have business to conduct when we go into these meetings with the mayor or whoever you're meeting with, somebody important. Just like you, Josh, you know I can go crazy in the car or whatever, I can turn up and listen to whatever music I want to listen to, but I know I have a business and I have something that I need to do walking into a space with a whole bunch of other people, right? So I'll give you a prime example. Parlor, we never really have any issues at all, like, right? It was a night, super packed, everybody's having a good time. The reason I love DJ Q is because he know how to control the crowd, right? And that's important because you see all these people, we jam-packed in here tonight. You know, we got every type of person in this building. We can play the bootsy, we can hit them, but we need to know how to set that up. We can't go and then we gotta go play some Young Dolph because we know what's next after that, right? I told them, I said, yo, let's go back to the regular music. I know he told you to play this, but I'm telling you, it's too many people in here, right? Because somebody doesn't understand business and they don't understand movement, they don't understand what you see in the crowd. He told them to keep playing the records, and what happened? Somebody got shoved on accident, and then the fight almost broke out because he didn't know to control the music because somebody had in their mind, we gonna turn up tonight. It's not even our crowd. But now you set us up because you gotta know how to control the crowd. And sometimes people don't have that business mindset, and that's why I'm glad he said that, because even in the restaurant business, I'm realizing that my patrons aren't all the same, right? And I have to make sure that this is a place for everybody to be welcome. And then, you know, I have to know who's really spending money in my business as well too. So, but I can't just say, oh, we're gonna do all trap music and I have a room full of people that don't know anything about trap music, right? So it's just controlling and knowing your setting and knowing your crowd it protect you from a lot of things, so.
I'm gonna say it's because Black people aren't monolithic. The way in which I can listen to, even in the bookstore, I listen to whatever my spirit decides I want to listen to. So if I decide I want to play nothing but hip hop and I'm gonna say ODB or something like that, I'm gonna play that. But also you can come in here and you can find literature about being a Black feminist. You can find literature about spirituality. You can find any of those things because all of that is all of us. So I think it's all storytelling. So in my mind, I can listen to this because duality is something that is in all of us, right? So like I have to be able to discern, like, I'm gonna go out in the world, I'm gonna like listen to Megan Thee Stallion on my way into work, and then I might play some gospel, and then, I don't know, one of the little homies comes in and they might have their little human with them. And so maybe I switch it to something else a little more friendly, but like understanding that all of that is all of us, and we get to, we get to decide what it is and what it isn't for each of us. Like, I think that happens. But for me to like sit in a space and acknowledge like rage is a real thing, and rage is a vehicle for a lot of us. And so I think a lot of that music sometimes, even if it portrays things that maybe not the most like rainbows and gumdrops and like kumbaya, like it's a story and somebody can relate to that. And I acknowledge like all of that exists. It has to, so.
Absolutely. And Josh, I want to unpack something that you touched on, because when we end the physical safety segment, I want to end with you because I have a very, very focused question for you, Miss Corey.
No pressure.
Yes. Josh, you were talking about setting a certain standard, right? The harsh reality is everybody in our community does not rise to that standard. And so when we talk about being community oriented and lifting as we climb, is that possible in nightlife? And I just want to have a very, very real conversation, because I will answer this question too, because I find myself asking myself this, like, doing violence prevention and reduction work, is it possible to save everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I find this funny. It's weird to me that the Black community consistently asks that type of question. It's not that way for anybody. Like, there's white trailer trash, right? Right?
For sure.
If we're gonna be real. So no, it's not, I guess if you wanna live in the life of everything's possible, yes, it's possible. But essentially, no, it's not. But it's not, it's not our job to uplift everybody. It's our job to give back. But you physically, right, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much inspiration, no matter how much influence you have, you physically can't touch everybody. It's not your job to do that, though. Your job is to fulfill whatever it is your duty is, whatever you're inspired to do, and teach as many people as you can, right? It weighs on you if you start trying to touch everybody. It just, you can't do it, right? We do events at, I think, the best club in the city, or on Fridays. There's no way in hell everybody in the city is gonna make it to that and be in dress code, like the music, rock with the crowd. We got probably one of the most mixed crowds in the city. It literally some nights might be 50. It literally might be 50-50 some nights. We're not in there trying to teach the Black crowd Black culture. We're just trying to teach whoever comes Black culture. It's just not our job to do that. People will argue that up and down. I essentially just don't think it's a thing, right? So like the people that want to learn, want to understand, they're going to listen, they're going to try, they're going to figure it out. And it's your job to just do as much as you can. When we start trying to pinpoint people out based on, who's getting left behind, who's not, I think that's where we lose ourselves, because you focus so much on that you realize, that you forget that like the objective is to move forward and just help as many people as you can. And so, no, I don't think it's possible, right? But that doesn't mean I don't give back. I mean, if you check my socials today, like I teach something every day I can. But I'm not sitting up, when I post it, I'm not saying every Black person in KC better listen to me, right? It's just not gonna be a thing, and that's not your job. So no, I don't think it's possible to do that. But I also think you do have a duty just to try, right? It's just, everybody don't come from the same thing. Like, right, like everybody won't understand, and you won't touch everybody. I mean, the richest people in the world don't touch everybody. It's just not a thing. And so, I guess it's a middle, right? If you believe in that everything's possible, yes. But if you're being realistic, it's just not a thing, no.
I received that. I definitely received that. But it's a difficult conversation to have, right? Because we as Black people, as people of color, our experience is just inherently different from our white counterparts, right? Like during chattel slavery, and not to take it all the way back there, but we had to have a sense of community. I mean, my child was theoretically being sold from me, and I needed my sister to lean on during that time. We had to have a sense of community. And I always want to at least address how that sense of community continues to persist present day, right? Because I do think it is an inherent part of our experience. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, people also have to be ready to have a peaceful, good time, right? And I think that that is where some of the educational components can come in. Hey, you deserve to grow old. You matter. You have self-value. You have self-worth. Carry that when you come into the club as well. And so, Ms. Corey, a lot happened in 2020, right? We had Donald Trump, George Floyd, and that period really unveiled some ugly truths about America and some ugly truths about race in America. And you being a business owner of an unabashedly Black-owned business that celebrates Black authors, have you dealt with white supremacist vitriol at all? And if you have, how have you handled it?
Okay. Y'all are funny. Okay, so the long story less long, yes, but it's not in ways that I necessarily envisioned that I would have. I've definitely been fortunate enough to not like have to deal with like day to day or like casual people having something to say to me. I've been very well, supported for the most part. There's been a few incidents, like my website was hacked. Before that, I was on a panel celebrating Black businesses during Black History Month, and it was like Zoom jacked, racial slurs. There's been like Twitter accounts and YouTube videos done on why a Black bookstore should exist. Why is it important? But by and large, in mass, most people understand what Black and brown is about, and that's the intention. Like, I am someone who's never gonna mince that I am Black through and through. Like, I step foot in this world as a Black woman, and so my lens, my experience, how I commune with other people is always gonna be informed by that experience. And so Black and brown, I wanted it to be very clear. If anybody knows me, the business plan in my head was, I'm gonna open a bookstore, I'm an introvert, people aren't gonna really wanna have small talking conversations with me. They'll come in, they'll buy these books, we can talk about books, and then you go home. That does not ever happen. But it is very much a space where people don't have to ask the question. It's called Black and brown. Why? Because aesthetically, Black and brown is just, if you grew up in that household, you don't wear those colors together, right? But absolutely it goes together. That's us. But also in the name, I want it to be very clear. Do you sell white books? I don't. It's called Black and brown. What is that? Just know that it's for Black and brown people. It's the forethought. It's not an afterthought. It is very much the intention. You step foot in here, you know what it is. And I've been fortunate enough to have an ecosystem of Black and brown, people to support, but also genuine allies who come into a space acknowledging we understand, and we want to be genuine allies to that. We understand that we are not the focal point, but we can support you how we can support you. And I welcome that. But just don't get to the front of the line thinking that we need you to speak for us, right? That's us. You can be in the back, but you can make sure that we have water. Or you can, you can write the checks, or you can talk to your people about how to treat my people. But it's not my job to hold the hand and do the work. And so I wanted Black and brown to feel like that. Because I think a lot of times we are expected to treat or teach people how to treat us. And that's not that's not what my life is here to do. Like, my life here is to have joy. Like, I don't feel like I'm here to like struggle. Like, I think life is gonna be hard, of course, but like, my job is not to teach people how to like be decent human beings. Like, I believe that the ecosystem that supports and, you know, supports us as human beings, in my experience, is that we are all trying to like be good humans. And so together, like, that's what we do. So.
Absolutely. So resist. Love it. Resist. And the reason why I asked that question is when people think about violence and lack of safety, it's automatically synonymous with Blackness or people of color, which in my opinion is the oldest tale ever told. I mean, Black folks weren't lynching people. Black folks weren't setting off bombs. Black folks don't really do mass shootings like that besides that brother in DC. You know what I'm saying? So to perpetuate this narrative that violence and unsafety is associated with Blackness is just one of America's oldest lies. Yeah. And I was wondering how you dealt with that, or dealt with the very reality that the Proud Boys, white supremacists, anti-Black interest groups are probably some of the most violent that we've ever experienced. I mean, I think it was a group of Proud Boys just got sentenced for January 6th. You ain't see no Black people out there at all. So it is amazing to hear that you feel safe and that you are protecting your space and that you feel supported. And so with that, speaking of feelings, we're gonna go into emotional safety and psychological safety, right? So Josh, everybody in here has this black can in our hand, right? Ken Seltzer. Did you think about psychological or mental safety when you started this brand? Because I know I used to be a White Claw girl. I've already transitioned today after experiencing this. But there's a lot of white-led or white advertised seltzers on the market right now. Did you think about the Black experience and Black safety when you created this brand?
Yeah. So, yes, 100%. So I don't know why I do this. 2 components. One component, obviously, so if you look at the side of the can, it says for the folks, right? So essentially, the drink was made for Black people to enjoy, right? It goes back into that safe space conversation that we talk about. You know, a lot of the drinks that we consume today are white owned. A lot of the places we go to are white owned. It's nothing like seeing something Black owned and like consuming it, enjoying it, rocking with it, right? Been in the space for a long time, so I just realized that this was a gap. Seltzer industries outside of tequila is the hottest industry in the nightlife space. Tequila takes years to create, so I decided to skip that and do that in a couple months. And so I went seltzer based, just to give us another safe avenue to enjoy something while we're enjoying ourselves. So a couple weeks ago, I came to, I forgot what it was, but I came to a panel, and it was a panel about just business or whatever. And I came in and I said, why don't we ever have panels about the entertainment space, right? When people talk about entrepreneurship, economical growth, there's always these discussions about money. There's always discussions about venture capitalists, capital in general, money, right? And I said, the one thing this year that probably brought Kansas City the most dollars is the draft. That is a big ass event, right? Essentially, it's just a big party. Why don't we have events, or why don't we have panels talking about how big events and experiences are to the community? That leads me into that second component, which is why I created this, was just the business component, right? Like, we don't have enough stuff to actually create capital for ourselves, right? So the Black dollar generates for the Black dollar. If you could look it up or just understand that Black money goes back into Black money because we look out for each other. And so essentially I was like, you know, I do enough events, we make money, cool. But if I put some more money into other avenues in the nightlife space or the social space, that we're just going to create more economical growth. And so both of those were essentially what it was. Yes, from an emotional standpoint, I wanted people to feel good about drinking something that we created instead of a White Claw or a Truly. But then also I I think the most important thing is the capital piece, which we've had meetings about that as well, where I speak up and say, all that shit is cool, but where's the money, right? And not where's the money as we're gonna make it. How do we raise funding? How do we set up entities to create more funding? And so essentially that's what it was, right? I created an entity before that entity that generated dollars for Black people. And I was like, the more entities I create, the more economical growth for Blacks I will create. And so that was both sides.
And it's about keeping the Black dollar in the Black community for a longer period of time, right? We've all seen the statistics. The Black dollar leaves our community quicker than any other ethnic racial group, period. So creating a seltzer that is owned by a Black man, purchased by Black people, marketed towards Black people, it encourages that cyclical nature of the Black dollar within our community, right?
Yeah, essentially, and that's the thing. I mean, we talk about I've seen like videos and stuff online about, we quick to buy Gucci, we quick to buy Louis Vuitton, we quick to da-da-da-da, but it's like, the reason we do that is because there isn't a lot of options, right? So for it to be options, somebody got to jump and go create something else for us. And so, if I'm being totally honest, you can Google it, we're actually the first Black-owned seltzer in the country. Like,
can we give it up for that, please? Please.
And that's essentially because when you think seltzer, you probably think that's super hard to create, which it is, but it's super hard to create, and we don't think we have enough resources to do it. But it's really just about jumping and going to do it anyway. And so two-sided market, two-sided thing where, whites create the most stuff, so we have to buy it because that's the options we have. But we also got to have the balls and the guts to go create stuff for ourselves. Even if it sucked, right? I launched this in 4 or 5 months, and y'all could have all been in here and said, "Oh, this is terrible." But I took a chance. And then I would go back to the drawing board and figure out why you don't like it and create something else. And so we just got to have the balls to do that kind of stuff, but also understand that we have to do that kind of stuff, or it's not gonna happen. And so that's it.
And the loyalty to support that kind of stuff too, though. Because it could be easy for me to go to any convenience store and buy a pack of Trulies, whereas I might need to search a little bit for Ken. But if I'm being real about our community and circulating our dollar, I'm going to make that trip, right? And I think that is something that has been overwhelmingly lost amongst our generation, sacrificing to support. Sacrifice to support. Now, Joe, earlier you were talking about the diversity at Boho Sway, which if y'all haven't been, some of the best fried chicken I ever had in my life. Fried chicken and French toast, amazing combination. You were talking about the diversity at Boho Sway. But for some folks, especially people of color, with diversity can come a level of mental or psychological discomfort, right? Because typically, we can find our safe space and our safe haven around our own. But you're absolutely right. Like, it's 2023. The modern economy is about integration. It's about diversity. How do you ensure that people of color continue to feel safe in your establishment while you do attract such levels of diversity?
I think, for one, I had to say this because it's a super important piece to the way that we got. It was Canary before, and it was not diverse. It was all white, right? And I don't think a lot of people knew about Canary. It was Canary before we got it. And so when we took over, my friend Elon, who owns the building, he also owns the building that the Combine is in as well. We looked at a building in the Crossroads that we were going to buy, and we were just going through all the logistics of things like that, and the guy ended up giving us 2 days. Our attorney had sent something to his attorney, and he didn't respond with the red line. So fast forward, FIFA was coming, and they knew that. He ended up saying, "Well, you guys have to today to sign," right? And we were like, "Bro, we even got the red line back from your attorney." He was like, "We don't care. If you don't sign now, then I'm moving on." We knew what that was. That was him saying, "Oh, FIFA's coming. We got FIFA. I'm gonna put one of my friends in the building. We're gonna make the money." Fast forward to my friend Elon, who's very inclusive. He wants all of us to be in one spot. And he even said, he was like, Canary is super white, right? And so Canary already had a staff. It already had a chef. It already had a GM. And we thought we were walking into a completely staffed location. And as we started to negotiate and, get all that, they knew who was taking over. The guy who was the chef said to us, "Oh, we thought they were just promoters." And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm an owner." You know what I mean? So that was the first thing. And so time was 2 days before we were taking over fully, the staff completely quit on us. The GM, they said it was a tumultuous takeover, right? We haven't even talked to the people that were the waiters and the bartenders. We hadn't even had a chance to talk to them yet, right? So we knew we were at an uphill battle. So they didn't want to work for someone that was black, right? And so we knew we coming into this, we were like, we don't want to be like that. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have that energy. I want to create something that everybody feels safe at coming to. So I think our biggest thing is just menu, right? We know if we gonna give you some good food, we gonna give you a good environment, people are gonna come. And I think it's what Josh said, is leveling up and giving people to be in a space something different that is of quality. I don't mind supporting anything that's black owned, right? I don't mind supporting it because, we should support it. But I wanted to make sure that when I do support, let's make sure it's quality. And like you said, if it ain't, let's go back to the drawing board and let's figure it out, right? I just think that it was super important for us just to create a menu that was super diverse for everybody. We want people to feel comfortable, especially our people, because it is black owned. But we didn't want people to look at us as, this is a black owned business, because we did have Aura across the street. I ain't gonna front. He's the guy who owns Aura was like, there's gonna be black people. That's what he said too. That's what his energy was. It's gonna be another black club. And we was like, this is a restaurant. It's not a club. If anything, you can say a lounge. We have a beautiful rooftop. But, we had to create something that was like, our people are welcome wherever we go. Everybody should be feeling welcome. It shouldn't be, this is just for white people. This is just for black people. It should just be like, this is a place where everybody can gather and feel comfortable and feel safe. Now, I will say this, we are trying to make sure that we introduce our people into something new, but at the same time, our people have to elevate up as well, right? And what I mean by that is, we have to learn how to support each other. Because a lot of times we come in with this ownership or level of, it should be this way or you should do it that way. And I just wanted to be like, that's not, in business, that's not the way it goes. Like we want to do, you can't, I love our people, we'll come and sometimes we'll eat all the food and then say, I don't like it. I'm like, come on, y'all. You ate half the food and then you want me to take it off your bill. And I'm like, you didn't like it, it's gone. What you mean, And so at the same time, I just want to make sure that, we learn how to support each other. I think that's a big thing. We talk about giving us access to everything, but if we don't know how to support each other and just be happy that somebody's doing something, I'm like, this is all I'm drinking. What are we talking about? This is all what? I don't know nothing about no Truly. Y'all better get this can. We gonna be good. That's how it should be. It should be that energy instead of it being like, I don't like that. We gonna, like I just, I just don't understand the logic. And so we have to change our mindset on a lot of stuff. And I'll be honest, like I'm learning that sometimes it's our own people that block us. I started my audio engineering school. I wanted to take it to KCK. I'm from Wyandotte County. Wyandotte County, stand up. Where we at? Dot in the building. You know what I'm saying? We in here anyway. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Little side note. But all right. But I wanted to bring my audio engineering school. I created the curriculum. We wrote the book. We did all this stuff to make sure that this is something that we give back to our community. And it wasn't anybody white that was pushing back on us. It was the people on the board. The black ladies on the board pushed back. You know what their question was? How he getting paid? I'm like, y'all ain't paying me. UCM is paying me, not y'all. But why is that even a question? Why y'all worried about how I'm getting paid? I'm bringing something. I created something. How come we just can't accept it? All right, you need an MOU. We get you an MOU. And then they still block it. And then they get mad now because I had to come over to the Missouri side to do it. And they opened it with open arms. And I couldn't continue waiting on my people to meet me where I'm at to say, this is something that the kids want. I had to say, man, I'm just gonna build it. Y'all didn't believe in it. I'm gonna build it, and you're gonna see it works, and then we'll go from there. And that's what's happening. So we gotta learn how to support each other and not block each other on certain things. And I'm all for inclusive and making sure that our people are taken care of, but we gotta learn how to take care of each other.
Absolutely. And speaking of support, just for the record, the best rooftop in the entire city of Kansas City is Black owned by this brother and his family right here. So, like, dope. Crab fried rice is very good too. So please make sure y'all patronize and support. Miss Corey, you know that I am a huge fan. You know, I am just drawn to Black female power and illumination, right? And you are 1/3 of the Radical Alignment podcast. Shameless plug. Shameless plug. And also the founder and owner of just something that is so loud and proud and beautiful. I know the mayor was at your ribbon cutting as well. So the community is behind you. How empowering is it to know that you took this leap of faith and you have this baby that you can call your own that means so much to the Black community, to the Black experience, to the Black spectrum of existence, right? How does that make you feel, just on a very like organic and uplifting level?
So good. No, it's really like next month I'll literally be celebrating 2 years, which is, thanks y'all, which is very crazy to say that I haven't set anything on fire yet, but you know, we're doing it, it's fine. But I think it's the most humbling experience ever, because I literally wake up and I get to do what I want to do. And it just so happens the thing I want to do is something that is very widely supported and loved by so many people, strangers and, you know, my family and friends and stuff. So it's a constant reminder of like, you know that this community needed it. And again, I'm always about like options. I think Kansas City is the perfect place if you have dreams of doing anything, because it's quite literally like fertile ground. Like, we're the middle of the map. And all the ideas that are coming from all over the place, like there's so many creative people here that are just like incubators. And so we talk about on the podcast all the time, like, do you want to be a pioneer or do you want to be a manager? And Kansas City gets to be the like perfect battleground to like test out new ideas. Like, I've met so many people that went to school to do my formal training is to be a lawyer. Like, went to law school, came back, got into nonprofit, worked in the district, and then was like, pandemic happened and said, you know what, books.
You dodged a bullet, girl, you dodged a bullet.
Look, okay, truly the heroes, okay? Some different, okay? There's a special seat upstairs when you get to heaven, and like, it's for educators and like people who were doing the work but it's empowering because we literally get to create our own narratives here. And I think that's something that we're like waking up to. And I went to school in the South, like I, you know, did the thing, left Kansas City, came back. But also it's just so empowering to see, like, I now know so many photographers. Like, I know creative people who have quite literally did work that transcends Kansas City and Kansas and Missouri and Wyandotte, because it was some Wyandotte County babies. But like, I've seen people do things that are touching the lives of people that are not just around the corner and down the street. And so it's empowering that now, like, when I want to do something, so for our second year, we're having another block party. But I have the capacity to now support on an annual basis, at least for now, at least 20 to 30 like Black owned businesses here. And I never would have fathomed like I could find someone who can do waist beads. I now know a Black owned seltzer. I know photographers, I know creatives, I know authors, I know all these people who are doing all these amazing things. And all we needed was the space and the opportunity.
Absolutely. Does anybody have a time check? 8:11. Okay, can we open up for Q&A? Nah, I'll shut it down. Shut it down. All right, I'm being told to shut it down. Well, really quickly, before we get out of here, a couple of last Shameless plugs. Yes, we can network afterwards. I know I'm probably gonna go get me another cocktail. Anybody that wants to join, let me know. Please patronize Ken Seltzer, y'all. It's very, very good. It's light. It's refreshing. It's cutting edge. The packaging is sexy. Yes. And make sure that you attend and download the Up Down Nightlife app. We got our bottle professionals in the background. Yes. Please, please, please also check out Boho Sway. In the heart of the city, amazing rooftop. Summer is up on us. Ladies, throw on your sundress, hit the rooftop, grab you a good cocktail and live your best life. You know what I'm saying? And then please, Black books matter. Black authors matter. Please go check out Black and Brown Bookstore. Also in the heart of the city, 39th Street, amongst the people, for the people. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And Josh, take
Real
us
quick,
out.
before we end, I'm doing a lot, but just listen to me. The name of this place is Keystone Innovation. The guy in the back that's quiet and try to act like he don't know nobody runs the space alongside Craig. The seltzer that you guys are actually drinking, I wouldn't have met the guy to get it done without Kevin in the back there. Big time shout out. Kevin puts in the work, right? We talk about looking out for the Black community when you're not Black. Kevin puts in the work and has since I met him in the capacity that we met that I won't talk about. But essentially we met years ago, and since I've known Kevin, he's put in the work for us, right? So not that, you guys got to go say hey and hug him or nothing, but at the same time, understand that this space that he's created is safe for us, right? Like I said earlier, I came to a panel a couple weeks ago. I mentioned that we needed to start doing stuff around the entertainment space because it affects more than just safe spaces and partying and drinking. It actually affects the economical growth.
Bottom line.
Couple weeks later, now we have a panel, right? He puts in the work. Not too many of us outside of us do that. So just wanted to give a shout out to Keystone Innovation.
One time for the allies.
And Craig is the guy anyway, so y'all know he gonna do it big. Ooh, good. Wow. We do get Ken. So we get Ken. Essentially, we get Ken. We're in the next 8 to 10 weeks, we'll be able to get Ken any and everywhere. Right now, you can get it at Border as a 6-pack, but as you go out, the societies, the ale houses, the auras, the Bridgers, but the Lotuses, the Yard Bars, wherever you're going to party, Firefly, Harpo's, everywhere. It'll be everywhere. So just start drinking. Anywhere you go, ask for it. So if it's not there yet and you ask for it, they'll say,
Boho Sway.
Exactly.
That's a guarantee. We know that.
Yes,
But
yes.
essentially, wherever you go, ask for it. And if they don't have it, they'll have to get it because y'all keep asking for it. Thanks.
Sacrifice to support, y'all. Sacrifice to support.
All right, let's give this panel another round of applause.